Okie dokie. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, depending on what side of the country you are on. Jared Sylvester here. Got a great show for you here again today, talking about life undeferred, talking about um, making someday, canceling someday. And we've got a special guest for you here today by the name of Russ Rogers. I'm going to introduce him in just a second, but I want to give everybody just a moment or two here to log in. We are going live on LinkedIn. We're on live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. So wherever you are joining us from, I sure do appreciate that. Just before we get started, just a quick reminder. I've got a really cool tool on my website, jaredsylvester.com. I've got the Life Undeferred roadmap on there for free. It's a 7-step process for you to really get control of your life. I've met so many people who get stuck. And they get stuck in mediocre. You know, people aren't living their best life, but they're not living their worst life. They're stuck at like a 5 out of 10. And, that's tragic in a lot of ways. And when I meet people that are stuck like that, they want more and they desire more. And this roadmap is a tool that I've used in my own life to really change my life in the last 2.5 years. And so I was never planning on taking this tool to the masses, but through boot camps and other mentorship programs, I've taught people this process, and it has really been a really fun tool for people to use and to help them not just goal set, but really cast the vision for the life that they want. You know, I mean, that's really where it starts, casting that vision, getting the goal in place, understanding who you want to become, and getting emotionally attached to that person. When you can start feeling what it's going to feel like when you get there, that is transformational. It starts changing your identity. And then the rest of the roadmap kind of breaks it down into different chunks, all the way down to the daily small win. So if you want that tool, very simple, just go to jaredsylvester.com. You'll see a link right at the top. It says free download. And I would love for you to see that tool, use that tool, and let this thing start to jumpstart your life. So make sure you go check that out again, jaredsylvester.com. Well, I want to bring on our special guest here today. This is a good friend of mine by the name of Russell Rogers. Russ, can you hear me okay there, brother?
I can hear you.
All right, you ready?
Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. Our guest today is none other than the Russell Rogers. He's an author of 5 children's books, each one spellbinding an ode to the necessity of moving every single day. But that's just the tip of the iceberg for Russ. He's an entrepreneur, he's a speaker, and he is the heartbeat behind the groundbreaking movement of Move Today 365. Get ready to be inspired today. Welcome to the show, the phenomenal, the extraordinary Russell Rogers. Thanks for joining us today.
Jared, thanks for having me, man. It's a privilege.
I love it that you're here, man. I love it that you're here. You're full of energy. Every time we've talked, man, I get energy from talking to you. Let's just start there, man. Where do you get your energy at 50? How old are you now?
I'm 56.
56. Where do you get your energy from?
You know, it's it basically wells within. It's a passion, you know, and when you're passionate about something, you know, the energy just boils within, you know. And it's funny because, like, when I was growing up, I was really kind of a laid back kid. I was really kind of mellow compared to some of my outgoing friends. Through college, I was still kind of that way, but then it was post college that I really kind of started developing, you know, became a youth pastor and really trying to find my gifts, my tools that I was going to use to impact the world and in any capacity I can. But it was really one person at a time. So that energy came from, and that passion came from within, of working with kids and really trying to inspire them.
Yeah, because your background, I mean, you've got quite a background. You were a landscaper for a number of years, and now you've turned it more entrepreneurial. You've been an author. You launched your series of books, which we'll talk about a year ago. I mean, talk about that pattern. Like, how do you sum up your life journey here, you know, in over the last 50 years in the next 2 minutes?
Yeah. No, great question. You know, the interesting thing is I went to school for hotel business management. And I have spent very little time in hotel business management. But the business aspect of it has always come along and I've used in all my different facets of life. But really, it was, when I was going to college, I played baseball. I played 4 years of college baseball at Cal Poly. And then after that, I became a youth pastor and served for 6 years working with kids. So junior high and high schoolers, then went on and worked at an orphanage for a couple of years, working with kids, raising money, worked at a college, coach kids, While I was at college, I'd had parents and other children that would come up to me that want to be trained. So I started a training business for personal training for baseball and softball athletes. And so all of this really just kind of developed me as a person of giving back, right? And so you're constantly filling up yourself, your well, so that you can pour out and give to others. And that has really kind of transformed me. And then hopefully, some people have been impacted as well. And so it's been kind of a different variety of things in my life that have really molded and shaped me to this point of where I am right now at 56.
Yeah. Well, I love your story, and I love your passion. How did you get into this journey of children's books, and how did you land on the topic of movement?
So, when COVID hit in 20, it was really kind of a pivotal time in my life because I had trained for 20 years working with kids and everything. And it was a time to kind of reflect because, here we are, we're all kind of locked up in our places, and even the beach, we couldn't even access the beach from 11 to 5 p.m., which is ridiculous. But we couldn't access the beach. And so, during that time, it was kind of a reevaluation. So I stepped away from training, stepped away from coaching, and I kind of sat on it for a year, kind of, what I call retired from that, and hung up the cleats. And so during that time, I reflected and I bought a journal in hopes that maybe one day I would have this moment or maybe some thoughts that would come that I would, journal in. And that thought didn't come for almost a year and a half on a flight to the East Coast. And on that flight, man, it was like a bolt of lightning that had come down that hit me. And I couldn't stop writing, Jared. I was just constant. And for 3.5 hours, I wrote and wrote and wrote. And what I've shared with other people is that there was no right or wrong in this. It was just me writing what was coming inside of me. And right now I've got goosebumps thinking about that moment when it was really kind of an inspirational moment that I writing these thoughts down, and just like I knew there was something there. I knew there was something there, but I didn't know exactly what. And then after some time and thought and process, I was like, wow, I think I'm going to write a book. And then when I really started breaking and refining what I had wrote, I was like, I think I'm going to put this in 5 books and really try to encourage and inspire children and families, even grandparents, and adults, but really kind of transforming their lives and movement, getting out and building activities, building ideas. So it was really just a great moment in my life that I worked on this for about a year on this project. And so I just was really, really excited about it, and still super excited about it, about what has happened in my life over the last 3 years.
I love that, and I want to come back to that moment because I want to dissect that a little bit more. But since we're talking about movement in your books, just share briefly kind of where you are. You launched these books about a year ago, 5 in a series, but really, you believe in movement every day, as do I. But what a great topic to hang your hat on and kind of stand for with your life.
Yeah. So, these books are about encouraging families, no matter what your family looks like, because in our society today, families are a different makeup. But whatever your makeup is, these books are about inspiring you to get out and do activities together. We know we live in isolation, even though we live under one house. Many times the family is isolated. Video games, TV, our devices, everything that keeps us separated in our families. But these books are aligned to really inspire the adults from infancy to 5, and even first-time readers up to like age 7, to really, as the adult reads it, as the parent reads it, or the grandparent reads it, it inspires them to, put the child in a stroller, put them in a front pack, a backpack, say, we're going to go hiking. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to take a walk around, through the city streets, or take a hike out in the mountains. And as the child matures, then those activities change, from flying kites and building sandcastles and building forts and, having bonfires, all the kind of things that we can do that are not rocket science ideas, Jared, but they're ideas that you can do, especially now in the summer months facing us right now. We're just getting into summer. So this is a great time to implement some of these ideas.
Mhm.
And so the inspiration is just encouragement, inspiration, and really trying to get people to get out and move and be together.
I think for I could tell that you're wired at a pretty high frequency, as am I. I always say that I'm wired hot, and I don't mean that in like a physical sense, appearance wise. I need to move my body. I get release when
Yes.
I move my body. What do you say to somebody who struggles in this realm where they just don't have that frequency? Then they're not naturally wired to do this. What do you tell them and try to share with them?
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest challenges because really my books are really focused for the parents and the kids. And so hopefully the parents can really get the kids out and develop them. I had this conversation just a couple of days ago with some friends, and it's like, why are you not focusing on like 10 to 12-year olds? And I said, even at 10 and 12, these kids are already kind of set into
Mhm.
what they're doing. So it's going to be harder to transform their lives than if a parent takes a child and raises them in this. But
Mhm.
really, we're all faced with choices every single day. Think about it. Think about all the decisions that we make throughout our day. From when we're going to eat, when we're going to wake up, what time we got to go to work, what kind of our appointments, whatever it keeps us busy. These things are decisions that we make, and so that decision of getting out and moving, that taking that time, if we can take the time to develop a schedule, then we can implement activity in our lives. And for the ones that are struggling with doing anything, if you could just do it for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you don't have to do it every day to start, but start with one. Just start with one and do a little bit and be
Mhm.
inspired by that. And then you can build off of that. And it's so important for people to realize you're doing it for yourself,
Mhm.
but you're also doing it for your family. You want to be there for your kids. You want to be able to be active for your kids, and so for the ones that struggle with health and weight and whatever, mental illness, this is a way for you to get outside, get the vitamin T, and get out and move. So, but just
Mhm.
start with one day, 5, 10, 15 minutes, and just do something. And the simplest of form is taking a walk.
Yeah, I love that. I go for a walk every single morning, and I joke I'm at the age where walk is considered exercise, and I mean that semi facetiously, but there is some truth in that. I was just
Yes.
having this conversation with my wife the other day, and this is just an observation. This is no disrespect to anybody, and I don't mean it this way, but like it seems like the people who get to be our age, kind of middle aged and beyond, the people who are successful, um, you just kind of notice that there is an element of health. People take their health seriously, and it seems like the people who are successful, and certainly the definition of success is multifaceted, and I'm not pinning it to income, but you definitely notice like people who are successful and they operate at kind of just a higher level. They
Yeah.
tend to take their health more seriously, or be more physically active. Talk about you mentioned mental health. Like there is a there's something that happens in the non-physical when you activate your physical body. Talk about that.
Yeah. 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 If you think about it, there was the Mayo Clinic had done a research and 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, they said in 200 years ago, 90% of America was in agriculture. And the average time of sitting was 3 to 5 hours per day.
Mm.
In today's society, we're talking the average person is sitting 13 to 15 hours, triple the amount of time those years ago. So think about that. When you're sitting, you're doing that. If you're sitting and doing that, that means you're inside, right? And we're really meant to be outside. We're outdoor creatures. We're creatures of habit. And so what habit is it that we need to break, or what habit is that we need to start and create in our lives and developing movement, because it's one thing to sit, but think about what that's doing to our physical being. Think about what that's doing to our mind. Think about the stress that people have, coming home from work or commuting 2 hours each way. Think of all that stress that's happening and the anxiety that people are dealing with in today and the mental illnesses that are out there that seem to be on the rise. If you take a moment, get away from isolation, get around people, talk to people, and move, I'm
Mhm.
telling you, it is going to bring those levels way down of stress, anxiety, mental illness, and everything, and getting away from isolationism. Right? It's
Yeah.
it's movement. We need to be around people and
Mhm.
doing this.
I'm a big mindset guy. You start talking mindset, and we'll get into that here in just a second. But that's my journey here the last 2.5 years. But there is something to the physical journey as well. We're mind, body, spirit. We're a multifaceted being. Where one area lacks, they all lack, but where one area gains, they all gain. Sometimes when I'm talking to people, if you don't know what to do in your life to kind of jumpstart your life, I'll just say the same type of things. Go for a walk. You'll do nothing but help yourself if you just take even tiny steps in the right direction, no pun intended, to helping your physical life.
That's right. Yeah. And so, for me, we're talking about mindset and stuff like that. I've never been a drinker. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I never have been. So those addictions are not a part of my life. And so when I look at my life and I think about that, there are many other forms of addiction and stuff like that. But in our world today, the phone, the device in our hand, can be an addiction. It's a great tool. Use it. Don't abuse it. But take the time away from it and really get your mindset in the framework that you need to get out and get away, take breaks. You know what I mean? And this is going to help each and individual to get out and to move and to get that breath of fresh air that we need in our lives each and every day.
One question before I want to move on to your entrepreneurial journey, but this is just more personal than anything because I've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and then a almost 1-year-old at home. And, for parents, it's hard. I grew up, I was like the last generation to grow up without technology. I graduated in 1997, literally like the year the internet exploded. So I have a very unique look at life where my entire pre-adulthood age was pre-phones and internet, and my entire adulthood age was literally post-internet and phones. The struggle to get the screens out of the kids' faces is such a tough thing. And we're not so dogmatic in our home to say, we're going to go totally analog. We're going to live out in the country off the grid. Where do you find that balance? What advice can you give to parents who are maybe struggling to get the screens out of the faces of children and get them out and about moving?
Yeah. So a couple of stories. I was in New York about 1.5 years ago, and it was on Saturday, college football day. And it was lunchtime. So I went into the Brit there and, kind of a British pub. And so I went upstairs. I was sitting in front of the TV watching a little bit of, sports while I was having some lunch. A table right next to me, 4 people walk in, 2 adults, 2 teenagers. And immediately within the first minute, everybody takes off their coats. They sit down, and what do? They go right to their phones, all 4 of them. Zero conversation. I passed a yard house the other day, and I looked down at the window inside the restaurant. Family of 4 sitting there, 2 kids, ages probably 4 to 6, in that range. Both of them with tablets in their hands. We can't go anywhere without some sort of device in our hands. And it's kind of a sad state of mind when you think about it, right? Because what does that do? It eliminates conversation. So I really put it in the parents' hands to really make the choice as an early childhood. Don't get these things in their hands too soon, and if you do, limit it, put it with some restrictions at hand so that you can train up the child. So yeah, we're going to sit around the table. We're going to have conversation. We're going to get out. We're going to walk the dog. We're going to do things together. Don't just do this to make them comfortable, and don't let them to, have tantrums and stuff like that. Gain control of your household, and set the tone. You are the adult. And so if we limit those times of accessibility, then we're going to create other opportunities for the family to come together, spend time together, and do a lot of activities together that we're missing out on in our lives today.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it does start with the parents. And that's me included. I'm talking to myself here as the parent of young kids who we do allow to have screens to some extent, but also make sure that our game is intact too, that we're not demonstrating to them somebody who's always in front of their phone as well. Also too, when I was a kid, we could be bored. And I think that we forget as parents, and we'll move on from this topic here in just a second, but we forget as parents, like, it's okay for your kids to be bored. We were bored. Like, I don't know about you, but I was bored growing up in small town Minnesota. We had to figure it out, and so sometimes we just pick our, we've done this, and I don't mean this literally, but you kick your kids outside, you lock the door. Yes. It's like, you got an hour. Don't come inside. Go figure it out. What are we going to do? I don't know. Like you
Yeah.
live out in the country, go figure it out. I think that's good. And I think my
I love
generation
that.
has forgotten that to some extent. Let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. You talked about how you had that kind of moment where you started writing. You felt like this, I don't know what you want us to call it, like a download or this confliction or conviction to start writing. Talk us through that. Where did it come from? Were you seeking that? How did you get that kind of divine download?
So, the interesting thing, Jared, is that, I never saw myself as a writer. Never did I see myself as an author. And even today, I really kind of pinch myself. Like, people say, wow, you're an author. And it's like, yeah, I guess, you know what I mean? It's like, I've done it, but I think I'm gaining, more, what would you say? Understanding of what I'm actually doing, right? Because I'm so passionate about it. So in that moment of transition, in that moment of pivoting my life, there was uncertainty and I didn't really know. So anybody that's out there thinking about pivoting in their life or looking at something for them, my 2 cents is man, there's nothing that should hold you back because fear is going to hold people back. And I remember Craig Siegel one day say, people don't go online and communicate because they don't like the way they look on the screen, and his thing is, who cares? Do it because we all have a message. We all have a story. We all have a song, and let's celebrate and let's share and let's tell people about what that story is. And so for me, when I took this on, I was like, there was a sense of uncertainty, but with who I am as a person, I would take this, with both hands and I'm saying, let's go. I'm going to take this step. I'm going to take this risk, but I'm going to go for it. But I know no matter what happens, even if it's a lost cause monetarily, I know that I'm making an impact. I know that I'm affecting somebody's life, whether they're reading the book or whether they're talking with me, but I'm impacting somebody's life. And, when you have followers and people are talking to you and asking questions, or they're saying, wow, this is awesome, that makes you feel good and it makes you want to keep going. It makes you want to keep writing, makes you want to keep getting out there in front of people. So I say, if you have fear, let's get over that fear. Don't let you be the one that stands in the way of your message.
Yeah. And what, to me, I love what you're saying. And what lots of times I've seen in my own life is what combats that fear. And by the way, the fear and self-doubt is going to be there throughout the journey. And I want to hear your perspective on that. I think for me, getting the confidence to overcome the fear has been the action. And so for you, not knowing how the end of this story is going to play out, again, no pun intended, but you start writing, you start taking action, that gives you the self-confidence to move through the self-doubt and the fear. Explain how that's worked out for you.
Yeah, so last year in June of 2023 is when we launched the 5 books. And we worked on that every single day for a year, right? Getting these books out. And so time, energy, passion, tears, laughter, Zoom meetings, phone calls, all this stuff, writing, getting everything, deadlines. So you're going. We launch it. And for like 2 months after this was over, I was like, wow, I'm tired. Like I'm exhausted. And honestly, like I was a new author. I really didn't know exactly what I needed to do. Then I re-engaged after that moment. And then a friend said, well, why don't you take one of the ideas and do a walk? So we started these walks that happen one time a month on the second Saturday around the country. So we started doing that. But then, as that happened, I was traveling and I went to this wedding in December in Florida. And then I flew up to meet with Craig Siegel. So we had coffee, and I shared this yesterday on our group meeting on CLS, is that when I was there sitting with him, he asked me a pointed question. He says, what is your word for 2024? And the word was, it was instant. I didn't have a word. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, be intentional. And I'm telling you, that word and that question changed everything for the last 6 months. Because it was immediate. I knew what it was. I don't even think about the word intentional in my life, but for the last 6 months, in every aspect of my life, Jared, I think about intentionality. What is it that I'm going to be intentional about the moment I wake up until I go to sleep at night? And I'm telling you, it has defined my life, the movement, the books, my writing, everything, being intentional.
I love that word. And it's a word that gets used a lot, maybe overused in some respects, but shed some light on this, and you kind of alluded to it. I'm the type of guy where I look, here I am in the journey, and I want to get to here. Like, I want to get the book out, and there's like 1,000 steps in between there. And I'm kind of an all or nothing guy, which is to my detriment in some ways. And if I can't accomplish the goal, like today, I lose hope, I get frustrated, then I get depressed, and then then my frequency, my energy goes down, and I can't really get up the next day and accomplish it. Just talk about, like, again, to your word, intentionality, what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. How does somebody take a big giant goal like writing a book, starting a movement, and take it on a day-to-day level? What's that look like in your opinion?
Yeah, great question. For me, when I try to get my thoughts together the day before, right? And, somebody had mentioned, Joey from CLS had said, why don't you backtrack, work 6 months out and back it up 6 months and see what that looks like. That is a process for me that I'm challenged with, that I'm nibbling on. So I'm not jumping into that thing. It is a process. But if we take sizable chunks each and every day, let's just take that day or a week, right? Let's take 5 days and break that 5 days down. Then everything that I do, because I still have the landscaping, I'm still writing, I'm still promoting, I'm still marketing, I'm still thinking, constantly the mind is going. And so I have to break that down, and I have to be intentional, because if I'm not intentional, I'm wasting time, and time waster is a killer for momentum.
Yeah.
Right. When we're doing nothing, we're sitting idle. And I'm not saying we, can't take breaks. I don't say, because I play beach volleyball, I take time out. I was down there 3 hours yesterday, and so you have to have that time, and you got to have balance, but be intentional about each and everything that you're doing in your life. But if you break it down in chunks, day to day, week to week, then it becomes doable.
Yeah, I love that, and that gives purpose to every single day. That gives
Every day.
That gives you something as you start to kind of wake up from your sleep. Like, you start thinking about that, and bam, now you've got a reason to put 2 feet on the floor and hit the day running. I love that. You've used the word movement. When did you understand? And by the way, for people who don't like maybe know what that word means, and you can explain it, maybe what it means to you, Russ, but like, it goes from like a message to a movement. And I think everybody has, in some respects, a message. And you talked about your song and your light. We talk a lot about light shining, and I talk a lot about that as well. That's a message, but then the movement is when it becomes something bigger. What does that word mean to you?
Yeah. The word movement. So when I wrote the books, it's about being active. It's about activities. It's about taking your kids out and being active. And when you think about active, you're thinking about movement, right? So you're doing activities is one thing, but while you're doing the activities, what are you doing? You're moving your body. And so when I wrote the books, I had no idea, Jared. I had no idea when I wrote these books that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. I didn't, because I didn't have a picture beyond the books. It was like, we're going to get the books done, and then we're going to advertise it. We're going to promote it and everything. But I had no idea where I would be in 2024 and 1 year later. And I say that in a humble spirit, because, it has been an unbelievable experience meeting people like yourself, in New York, networking with people. The movement to me came as a result of a conversation that I had when somebody said, take an idea. And the original thought was, we're going to take 4 ideas and do it quarterly, and we'll do something different throughout the year. And we were going to just do it in our community. But when I just established doing a walk in October of 2023, I had no idea that we were going to just stop that other idea, and we're just going to stick with this one, and we're going to do it every month, and we're going to grow this into a national and worldwide movement. And so it's not a business that I'm creating. It is a movement that I'm creating, and really trying to share that. And so Move Today 365 is the umbrella, but then the books and the athletic gear and the podcast and, speaking engagements and Little Give TV show, these things are all a part of it, of getting the message out of moving our bodies and the importance of it. And so the books are just kind of a sub of that. Yeah. And so it's awesome. And seeing the inspiration behind it, but also seeing the difference that it's making in people's lives. I had one guy, podcaster Jeff, down in Orlando, Forrester, and Jeff had said, we used to, when my kids were younger, we'd take the dog for a walk, but now that the kids are older, they're in high school and everything. Now it's just me taking the dog for a walk, or it's one of my kids and everything. But he goes, after I've talked with you, like, this has motivated me to get back to when my kids were young. Let's all go out and let's all spend time together and let's move together, but let's have conversation while we're doing it. So this movement has been has blown up a lot more, and I'm as you can tell, I'm passionate about inspiring people to move.
I love it. There's nothing more as somebody who's passionate about a message like I am. Sometimes, like when you go speak, they give you the stage for an hour, and if you're lucky, they pay you. And you go in there and you give your talk, and afterwards, somebody gives you a hug and a high five, and that was great. And then it's kind of like it's a little bit anticlimactic, because then after that, you're just like, okay, in a year, if I were to see these people, would they remember what we talked about? And so again, when you're passionate about a message, you want people to take it further than just hearing you talk for an hour, or maybe just reading your book. And so again, what you're talking about there is where, like, now you're starting to not only change people's lives, but you're building community around that, and you're watching the things now become bigger than you. And it's really inspiring to watch your movement begin. That's interesting how it started. It started as an idea that you were just going to try it one time, and here we are now, a year later, and it's going more and more. Tell people about what you do. You do these monthly walks. Tell people about that.
Yeah. So we just simply called the walks, and they're on the second Saturday of every month. And so right now we have 16 states and 2 other countries, Germany and Puerto Rico. Crystal Lore out in Puerto Rico, we got connected through a mutual friend here in California. She does, personal training and everything out there. Very active in Puerto Rico and around the world, people that join her live in her movement. And so we got connected, and then all of a sudden she turns on 2 of her friends that are in Buffalo, New York. Now they're connected. They bought, athletic gear, Move Today 365 gear, and it's really awesome to see the development of it. So we're about 16 states right now that are represented. And the idea is this: our idea here on the coast was, we have a place called Natural Bridges. Then we have Santa Cruz Lighthouse. It's a 2-mile path. And so it's a great walk. It's on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. It's picturesque. It's beautiful. If it's raining, if it's foggy, if it's sunny, it doesn't matter. It's beautiful. So I have selected that place to be our monthly walk. So I encourage people, find a location, do whatever time on the second Saturday in your community. And it's kind of a 2x2 mentality. I invite somebody to come and join me. And then the next time they invite 2 people and join them, I invite 2 more people, and we build this up. And it's catching on, and people are moving, and people are walking, and people are excited. The messages that I got this morning, I love the walks every month. I love getting out. And so those dates are on my website at movetoday365.com. You can find the remainder. We're halfway through the year, which is unbelievable to me, that we've already got 6 under our belt. And so 6 more to go. And these walks are about family. They're about friends. They're about colleagues. They're about community, coming together, moving, and having community, talking. I'm meeting new people all the time, and it's great to get to know people I don't know in my own community. So I encourage you to get out and be a part of the walks.
I love the movement, and I love the passion behind it, and how you are helping people. I love what was said here today as we kind of land this plane here. But like talking about somebody who, if you to use your word, pivoted, later in life. Not that you're old by any means, but utilized his skills, talents, abilities, his experience, to, in your words, how to help other people as best we can. Taking a divine download, a moment where you felt convicted to write, how that turned into you becoming an author, you becoming a business owner, and now starting a movement. And now you got people all over the world who are following you and part of your community. I mean, I think that's a really inspirational message. And there's so many people out there who, they don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. They feel like they've got this in them, which they do. Yeah, and so absolutely. Maybe just as we close that out, maybe, speak to that person who feels stuck. Maybe they're my age, 40s and 50s. They think it's too late. What What advice can you give them?
It's never too late. That's what I'm going to say. It's never too late to start. So, at 53, I pivoted. Here I am at 56, creating a movement, writing books, getting out, promoting it. It's never too late. So you may not find that until you're 70, but I have people that are out there that are walking with me that are 75 to 80 years old. And we're walking and we're moving and we're doing this journey together. And so I say, for those people that are struggling, it's not too late, but don't be isolated. Don't stay in your home. Don't do anything. Get out. I know a friend of mine said, that they have their parents in a retirement home, and so in this retirement home, because of their disabilities, the retirement center knocks on the door 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what do? They bring them out of their rooms. So what? They have community. They get out, they talk, they eat, they come together, they have exercise classes and things like that. And so, we don't have to be in that kind of situation, but even our own homes, it's never too late. Start today, get out, take that first step of action, and just take a walk for yourself. Just go around the block and see how simple of an idea it is. And then not only that, but invite somebody and friends. Start with a, friend, start with somebody that's related to you, but just do it. Get out and make it happen. It's never too late.
I love how that's literal advice, but also metaphorical advice too, of like, just get up and move, whether that's a movement in the right direction for the calling purpose you have in your life, but also your physical body. I love the message. We're out of time there, Big Bye. Give people a little bit of an insight of where people can find you. You mentioned your website already, but is that the best place to find you? And where can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, just Russell Rogers. Instagram, Move Today 365, or follow me on my website. You can DM me, you can message me, but on my website at movetoday365.com.
I love it. Russell Rogers, thanks for joining me today live.
Thanks, Garrett.
From California, Santa Cruz, California, buddy. I like that. It's going to be a little rough trying to go for walks here in Minnesota if we get this going. All right, guys. We'll let you go. Thanks everybody for joining us live today.
Thanks,
I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll do it next time. See you, Russ.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.